What's up, YouTube? This is Tahmid and you're watching another episode of Tahmid Reads. I got my PDF book and my notes right here and I'm ready to get into Chapter 1, The Matthew Effect for Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. So this chapter gives us a lot to think about and starts off kind of like a Bible study with a quote from the Matthew's chapter in the Bible. The bottom line for me in this chapter is if you ought to remember one thing, is that success is more than just individual effort, that it is a product of society and systems. To put into the author's own words, and really the hypothesis you can say here in Outliers, and I quote, "I want to convince you that these kinds of personal explanations of success don't work. People don't rise from nothing. We do owe something to parentage and patronage. The people who stand before kings may look like they did it all by themselves, but in fact, they are invariably the beneficiaries of hidden advantages and extraordinary opportunities and cultural legacies that allow them to learn and work hard and make sense of the world in ways others cannot. It makes a difference where and when we grew up." End quote. You know, this reminds me of my undergrad in business school, and we would have to do these case studies on companies and their founders, and obviously we would pick very successful companies and founders. So my group, one year we did a project on McCain Foods, which is a multi-billion-dollar frozen foods giants. You might have some of their fries in your deep freezer right now. And I remember one specific moment, and I was just an undergrad searching on the net for some information on McCain Foods, and I stumble upon this interview of the founders, the McCain brothers. And this moment stands out because of the humility of the McCain brothers who founded this empire out of a modest farm in one of the smallest provinces in Canada. And they were asked in the interview, what's your keys, what's your secret to success? And one of them told the interviewer, right place, right time, next question. So, there you have it, living proof that success, it does not have some secret formula or result simply from extraordinary talent or extraordinary effort. So to further drive this point home, the authors used the example of Canadian minor league hockey. Now, if you're a Canadian and if you live here, you know that hockey here is like a religion. It's a dream for kids to make it into the major leagues. But the author picked on data to show that those who go to play in the semi-pro leagues, there's a particular bias about them. It has to do with age and them being older and hence physically bigger and having a physical advantage over the other kids, which is a big deal in a sport like hockey. And these bigger kids, older kids, are born in January, February, March, which puts at disadvantage the kids who are born later in the year, November or December. And the authors purposely pick sports because we assume so much of sports to be meritocracies where, other factors besides skill and talent don't really matter. So I know not all of us are familiar with the sports scouting talent system nor hockey. So I'll try to tie it to another example the authors give, that of school and how children are enrolled in school. I know that we've all probably been to school at some points in our lives, and we can probably relate to the example of enrolling in schools better than we can to minor league hockey in Canada. And I quote from the author, "Hockey and soccer are just games, of course, involving a select few, but these exact same biases also show up in areas of much more consequence, like education. Parents with a child born at the end of calendar year often think about holding their child back before the start of kindergarten. It's hard for a 5-year-old to keep up with a child born many months earlier. But most parents, one suspects, thinks that whatever disadvantages a younger child faces in kindergarten eventually goes away, but it doesn't. It's just like hockey. The small initial advantage that the child born in the early part of the year has over the child born at the end of the year persists. It locks children into patterns of achievement and underachievement, encouragement and discouragement. that stretch on for many years. And they go on to quote several studies that affirm this hypothesis. And these advantages and disadvantages, as they say, really do accumulate over time. So you must be wondering why this chapter is named after Matthews in the Bible. Well, I can tell you that, and the authors break it down using the modern powers of sociology. And I quote, "The sociologist Robert Merton famously called the phenomenon the Matthew effect, after the New Testament verse in the Gospel of Matthew. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance, but from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath." It is those who are successful, in other words, who are most likely to be given the kind of special opportunities that lead to further success. It's the rich who get the biggest tax breaks. It's the best students who get the best teaching and most attention. And it's the biggest 9 and 10-year-olds who get the most coaching and practice. Success is the result of what sociologists like to call accumulative advantage. End quote. And you know, this is not to discredit hard work and say it's all luck, but we must admit that luck does play a huge factor. Or that the McCain brothers would say, right place, right time. So there you have it, my main reflections on this great chapter. Please leave a comment about what you think and share your thoughts about this idea of the self-made person. Do you think that is all BS, or do you think there's some truth to it? And as always, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you can come join me next week when I review the next chapter of the book. Take care for now.